Now, I'm a big fan of the learning module format in Blackboard, and that's why these this course is organized into different learning modules. And to make a module is super simple. In any content area, like syllabus materials, even in a content folder, under the Build Content tab on the right hand or left hand side, we have a learning module, which when we click on, we come to a page where we can name the module whatever we want. And then we can describe what the module will do or what it will contain or both. Now under default content view, we have the option of doing icon only, text only, or icon and text. And you have to be careful because this only affects you as the instructor. So as an example, if I go ahead and click on this resources here, those same options for changing your content layout are right under here next to this little button that you click on, which when we click on it, we have the option of doing right here. So show icons only will look like that. So icon, title, no descriptions of what the content is for or does. And then icons and text. So we are showing, and again, this is the default. And then text only will show you everything except the icon, which, is really all about a design preference. Because again, this is not going to influence what your students see. What you're going to see as the instructor is like this. What your students see will always be this, where we have a table of contents over on the side, and then they view individual pieces of content at a time over on the right hand panel here. And they can navigate this table of contents just like you can by clicking on the navigation menu here or by clicking on this tiny triangle at the top right of the content area. And you'll see that as I change this mode back to just icons only, when we go and update our page in student mode, nothing changes. We still have our title and we have our text in here. So again, changing this layout is just for you as the instructor. And the reason why my preference is to have it as icons and text is that you are able to come in here and you can go to your content item, and not only can you just drag these into position and they will reorder themselves in your table of contents by default, you also have the option of, and the reason why I'm changing this and you're not seeing an update here is because we have to actually click on this refresh button right in this spot right here. So click on refresh. Now we have our new table of contents updated. So let's go ahead and get this guy back to how it was. Make sure I don't forget how it was designed. Hit refresh again so it's back to normal. So if you go to this content item, over here on the far right corner of that item is this gray triangle, which allows us to hide or expand a given piece of content. But if you have a very long list, then maybe for your purposes, the icons only would actually be an easier choice for keeping everything organized and easy to view and edit. Now, if you recall from our topic on individual content items, these are all blank pages. This is a web link, this is an achievement, and this is a quiz. All of these blank pages, even though as the instructor I have a blank page title, if I want to actually go to this page and edit the content, I have to actually click on it to get to that page. And now I have all of my materials for it right here. The nice thing about the student view, however, is that that page will automatically open up and they will see it and in their little content window right here. So all of these blank pages are automatically being opened and visible to them in this way. Now you'll also see that our table of contents, even though we have our individual items, they're not actually numbered. So there's no sense of hierarchy here. To add a hierarchy, all you have to do is go into your learning module and edit it. And in the edit options under section 5, Table of Contents, we have the option of showing or hiding the table of contents, and why you would hide it, I'm not sure. But we also have one for hierarchy display, and by default it's set to none. If I change this to numbers and hit submit, now when we refresh our page, we have numbers for each individual section. Now, as far as colors go, the reason why these links are blue and this is black is that these actually link to either a new content folder or a blank page. So we actually go somewhere to a new location where our content is actually residing. And this is just a link to that content. Whereas with this Blackboard help link, it's just a direct web link to somewhere to the outside. And then same for the quiz. We also have the option of moving our table of contents from the left down to the bottom. And that button is right here towards the top, this little arrow icon, which when we click on it, will move our table of contents down to the bottom area. And this is useful if your table of contents has some pretty long titles and they're being cut off by your view type. So here's an example of our titles being cut off. And if I move it to the bottom, your students will not see that change. So this is actually a user preference, not a course preference. So the student will have to choose themselves whether they want to move this table of contents to the bottom or keep it by default on the side. Now, what happens if you have your display mode set to a certain way, but then when you come to a different subfolder, you decided to change it? And now you want to change it all back to a single mode, either icons and text, just text, or everything. Because honestly, this icon format is driving me nuts. So I'm going to go to make sure that all of my areas of content in this module are the same. I'm going to go to my learning module, right up here, go to edit, and in that edit mode, I'm going to choose my icon and text as the mode and make sure that this checkbox to apply that to all existing subfolders is checked. Now with that checked, I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. And now when we go back to our learning module and then go to this new folder, for example, now we have my list of items, which I much prefer. Now, last but not least, what happens if you want to have a learning module with multiple learning modules contained within it? Unfortunately, in this learning module, we can't just go up to the Build Content tab and click on under the Create and do a new module, because that option doesn't exist anymore. We also don't want to do a module page, because a module page under the New Page section is actually an area where you can drag and drop tools like the task bar, My Grades, UAA courses. It's not really relevant for what we want to do for implementing a new learning module like this one within our existing framework. So the way that you do that is you create a content folder instead. And that content folder will get its own link in your hierarchy here. And within that folder, we have the option of creating all of our different types of content, including content folders again. So we can have folders inside folders inside folders. And you could theoretically create your entire course within a single learning module if you wanted to go that route, just by having every learning module as a folder within your overarching learning module. And what's cool about this is, as we see with this, this is the instructor view where we have our hierarchy, and as we have a folder, we see our list of items here. But again, as a student, this is what the student sees. So they see their list, and then they see a folder of the various extra content. And when we get to that folder, we'll see that it automatically expands in our table of contents. Our folder description is right here, but it does not display the items inside the folder. Those items are only visible right down here in the hierarchy, which if you go to the next page, it'll show us those different items. And then same idea when we go to this subfolder within a folder. Here we have our folder, but again, we don't see the actual items in the folder in this space. We just see that folder's description, and then the actual content within the folder is in this hierarchy down here. Now, you might be asking yourself, because this is a learning module, there must be some way to force the user to navigate through the module in a certain order and prevent them from jumping ahead. And you are correct, but it comes with a pretty important caveat. If we go to click on any of these links in this main area of our module to get to our module title here, I'm going to go ahead and edit this module, and I'm going to turn on under section 3 module options enforce sequential viewing and set that to yes. Default is no. We'll make it yes. And it does not matter if there is a hierarchy display in place or not, because the hierarchy will exist regardless. We just are choosing to expose that hierarchy with either letters, numbers, or a mix of both. I'm going to go ahead and choose none though, just because, just to show you that this will still work regardless. So we're going to go ahead and hit submit. And again, as the instructor, you're not going to be able to tell if that worked because you're the instructor. But in student mode, if we enter that mode, if we refresh the page and we go to the top, we can see that now I cannot click down here to this link here without clicking through and navigating down one at a time to that link. And that's good, except what happens is that now that I've reviewed all of these files, if I go back to the beginning, I can't get back here without clicking through all of these files again, and that is dumb. So it's a good idea in theory, but in practice it kind of falls flat.